There's already a handful of quarterbacks for Indiana football to go after in the transfer portal.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Well, thank you so much for being here. Shout out to all my everydayers, those of you that come back each and every day, truly making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. For those of you that are getting into the rotation, thank you as well. I hope you're enjoying it. And we're having a lot of fun. As you can tell, still battling with a pretty good illness here. So just bear with me again. I don't normally sound this sickly, so just trying to fight through it here in December and get over this. But there's too much to talk about for me to be laying in bed because we've got Indiana basketball tonight as they return home to take on Sam Houston. Do we look any better after what was just an abysmal performance down in the battle for Atlantis? Plus, college football playoff rankings come out tonight. Where does Indiana land with all the chaos that happened this weekend? But the thing we start the show today with is the fact that the transfer portal is going wild already. And I know what you're going to say is, Jacob, the portal doesn't open until Monday, December 9th. You're right. But you have guys all over the place announcing their intent to enter the transfer portal, which is how most of these people do it nowadays, right? Because they want all these programs to know that as soon as it goes live, their name will be in there and they want you to contact them. That's how this works. And there's already a couple of quarterbacks out there that I think Indiana needs to take a look at. And this has been a growing conversation for Indiana fans, but also just in college football, right? Because this is a very, I guess, a shaky topic at times, especially in the locker room, right? I don't envy being a head coach where you have to have these types of conversations because you look at this and it's like, okay, I have this quarterback who's played for us this year, Curtis Rourke, for example. He's been great. We appreciate what you've done, but you're no longer going to be here. Then you look in your quarterback room and you're thinking, okay, we've got a couple of guys in here, but do we really think this is the future? Do we have confidence that this is the future? And that sounds terrible to say, but as the head coach, you've got to have that sort of a conversation. You have to have that sort of mindset. And you take the risk of, hey, I think we need to go get somebody. You take the risk of making those other guys mad. They tell you to kick rocks, and then they leave, right? That's just kind of how that works. And you look at what Indiana has in the quarterback room. Curtis Rourke, he's gone. You've got the freshman Tyler Cherry, right? The high recruit here from Indiana that came in, the in-state kid. You still have Taven Jackson as a sophomore as well for Indiana. You've got Mendoza in there. You've got another junior, Purcell, in there. I mean, you do have some quarterbacks in the room. The two that are going to highlight everything are Taven Jackson and Tyler Cherry. But do we have confidence in those guys to be the future of the program? You tell me. I don't know. And I think that's something that Curt Cignetti needs to really sit down and think about. Taven Jackson played good in his limited minutes this year, right? Played pretty solid. I think he got better from last year to this year. And Tyler Cherry very well could be the future of this program. But when you've got guys like Miller Moss that are in the transfer portal, when you got guys like Kaidon Salter who are in the transfer portal, yeah, you got to go after those guys. And I think Indiana should absolutely pursue these two and anybody else that enters the transfer portal, because Miller Moss and Kaidon Salter are two dudes that I think have a really, really high ceiling, but I do think have a low floor. And I think you've seen that in their times at their respective schools. Let's start with Miller Moss at USC. Right, he's been there for several years. He was a starter this year, got replaced late in the year, but threw for almost 65% completion percentage, 2,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. And so this guy's got the skill. He's got the experience. He's got 1 year of eligibility left. And I think he just brings the excitement to a program. I mean, man, if you can handle the bright lights of Los Angeles, you can handle the bright lights of Bloomington. Let's be real, right? And I also believe that Curt Cignetti and this staff have shown, and Tino have shown, that they can make quarterbacks great. Curtis Rourke was a really good quarterback, but he also played in the MAC. He came to the Big Ten and lit it up, and they are a big reason for that. And so you've got to believe in those guys for whoever they bring in, and even the guys that are still in the room, that they're going to make them elite and that they are going to make Indiana's quarterback room really, really competitive. And so you bring in somebody like Miller Moss or Kaidon Salter, the Liberty quarterback, who is a junior this year coming in now as a senior, right? This past season, he regressed a lot this year. I just want to make that very clear. From 2023 to 2024, he took a major step back. Let me read you his 23 numbers, and then I'll read you his 24 numbers. So here's Kaidon Salter, the Liberty quarterback, who has announced his intention to enter the portal. All right, in 2023, he threw for a 61% completion percentage, 2,800 yards, nearly 2,900 yards, 32 touchdowns, and just 6 interceptions. That's really good. Let me say that again. 32 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. That was 2023. This year in 24, he took a step back. 56% completion percentage, 1,800 yards, so 1,000 yards less, 15 touchdowns, less than half, and 6 interceptions, the same as he did a year ago. He's still a really good player, and I think Liberty's talent went downhill a little bit, and I think they lost a lot of their dudes. I think Kaidon Salter could be that guy. I really, really do. I think he's got the ability to be really good. And he's also a little bit more of a dual threat than what Miller Moss is. And I think Indiana could really use that. And I don't want this to come off any way wrong about Taven Jackson or Tyler Cherry. I just think Miller Moss and Kaidon Salter are good. And let me make this clear too. They will not be the only ones that enter the portal. I'm not saying you have to go get these guys. It is just crucial to the future of this program for one of these dudes to be the starter here. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I do think you have to make the call. I do think you have to pick up the phone and at least check it out if you're Curt Cignetti and Indiana football. Because whether you believe in Tyler Cherry, Taven Jackson, whatever the case may be, I will say this until the end of time. In this new era of college football, you cannot afford to not get players out of the transfer portal. And I think for a big-time program that Indiana's trying to get back to and become in this new era, you cannot afford to not have a good quarterback. It's not okay to not have a good quarterback. There's too many resources for that to be the case. And so for the Hoosiers, go get somebody. Whether it's Miller Moss, whether it's Kaidon Salter, or somebody else, you've got to go get somebody. But I think those two guys are a really, really good start for what next year could be to make the room competitive. Whether they start or not, I don't know. But at least make the room competitive, and Miller Moss and Kaidon Salter would be a heck of a start. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, it's Tuesday, which means we've got college football playoff rankings coming out tonight. Let's try to predict these things. What in the world's going to happen now after all the hecticness that happened over the weekend? That's coming up next right here on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature on their ticketing app called Game Time Picks, where they're going to take whatever venue, whatever event you go to, right? So look up your T-Swift tickets or look up the NFL game coming up on Sunday, and you're going to go to that event, and you can click on Game Time Picks. And so rather than looking at all the different tickets and clicking through them, looking at the views, looking at the prices, and it taking an hour to find your tickets, they're going to filter all that out, and they're going to show you the best ones that are available to you, the best price, the best view for the best deal. That's what they do for you with Game Time. You pair that up with so many other great features, like their all-in pricing, right? When you toggle this feature, you're going to see your total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. The price you see is the price you pay. And when you're looking at those seats, right, through Game Time Picks, you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. And it's accurate. I'm telling you that personally, it is accurate. I've tested it several times. Some other places, it's kind of sketchy. Not here. This is the place to be. Their seat views are legit. All right, so take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Again, appreciate you being here, dealing with me, dealing with an illness. So fighting through that, but happy to be here because, man, there's just so much going on right now in the world of Indiana athletics. If you are a returning customer, thank you so much. Really do appreciate you being here, truly making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. A reminder, this show is free to you Monday through Friday, every single day. Bonus episodes here and there on the weekends. Got a busy schedule, but I try to do it when I can. So be sure, if you're on YouTube, the best way to get notified is to subscribe to the channel. We're growing like crazy over here, ladies and gentlemen. Growing like crazy. Way over 3,600 subscribers thanks to yesterday. So be sure, if you have not already, to subscribe to the channel. Also, like this video and comment your thoughts down below. Who should Indiana football go after in the transfer portal at the quarterback spot, okay? Be sure you do all that. And then for those of you on audio, if you don't want to miss any new episodes, whatever platform you're on, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, any platform you can get us on, be sure you follow us and be sure you have those notifications turned on, okay? So be sure you do that. And coming up tonight, you've got more college football playoff rankings coming out. And you and I have had several conversations about this, right? We've had several conversations about what this is going to be, what it could possibly look like, and try to predict this every single week. And this week was just as chaotic and hectic as all the other weeks have been. And while that's fun, it's also stressful for us here in Bloomington because we're trying to figure out where the heck we're going to be, what ranking we're going to be, where we're going to be in the bracket. Do we get to host? Do we have to travel? Like, we're trying to figure all of that out right now with just a couple of weeks to go. I mean, you've got 1 week of games left, and it's not even the regular season. That's over. That's gone. That's done. You have just conference championship games now. And I hate that Indiana's not there. Hey, we got 2 of the dominoes, right? We beat Purdue, beat the brakes off Purdue, and then Ohio State lost to Michigan. All we needed was Penn State to fall, but that didn't happen because their schedule is soft, but it's okay. Penn State and Oregon are playing in the Big Ten championship game. I'm putting this on record several times, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll eat it. Oregon will crush Penn State in the Big Ten championship game. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again today. Oregon will crush Penn State in the Big Ten championship game. I just want that on recording so people can see that when it happens. So trying to predict what's going to happen in these college football playoff rankings, I don't know. And I know that's really good analysis here. Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, and Georgia. I think those 5 teams, as you look at it right now, and I've got the AP poll pulled up. I know that's not a direct correlation with what happens in the playoff poll, but it gives you an idea, right? It gives you an idea. And I think those 5 teams are in regardless of what happens. Regardless of what happens, because Georgia, Texas play, Oregon, Penn State play, Notre Dame doesn't play. So, of course, they get rewarded for that. And then after that, that's when it starts to get interesting, right? You have a couple of 10-2 teams. You have a handful of 11-1 teams, SMU, us, and Boise State. You've got Alabama in there. How about South Carolina? What do you do with Miami, right? What do you do with Iowa State or BYU? Like, you've got a lot of question marks here in terms of where Indiana could be. And I just feel that we deserve, to be in. And I think I'm finally starting to convince myself that it's okay. I'm starting to accept the fact that we're probably going to be in. I don't know. I still have a weird feeling about it, but I think we're okay. But I also believe that we should host. I think we should host because I think it's the greatest story in college football this year. And I think that we have been one of the top teams in all of college football, one of the best stories of college football, and we've shown to be one of the best atmospheres in college football. That stadium used to never be full. ever. I can count on one hand the amount of times in the past decade that I've seen that stadium jam-packed to the brim, right? And I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way, especially you longtime Indiana football fans. But man, the views that we've seen this year and the shots we've gotten this year and the images that we've gotten this year are just incredible at Memorial Stadium. It's unbelievable. That is what college football is and is about. And you would think, right, since ESPN's hands are all up in this, you would think that they would want to have more of that because people want to see Indiana. Non-Indiana people are watching Indiana because it's such a great story. It's so exciting. It's new. It's refreshing. It's not Clemson or Ohio State or Alabama every single year. It's somebody new. It's fresh blood. It's somebody that can get in there and shake things up. And let's be honest here. Nobody wants to play us in the college football playoff. Nobody wants to get matched up on Selection Sunday with the Indiana Hoosiers. Whether the Hoosiers come to you or you come to us, nobody wants us in that first game of the college football playoff. And I guarantee nobody wants to travel to Indiana in December and come play a football game on a Saturday night. Nobody wants to do that. And so why would you not put that team in? The team that's won 11 games, the team that has the intimidation factor and is the best story in college football. And not only should you put them in, they should be hosting a playoff game. They've done that. They've earned that. They deserve that. And you're going to have who? Oregon will host a game. I guess winner of the SEC will host a game. Notre Dame cannot host a game. So you're looking at SMU maybe could host if they win the ACC, right? And then you've got the Big 12 winner, right? Arizona State or Iowa State will host. And then it starts to get really interesting because then it's through 8 and then everybody else travels. So here's my prediction for Indiana tonight. I still think we're top 10. I think we're just outside that top 8 where we need to be. But thankfully, you do have conference championship games this weekend. I just don't know if you can jump into that spot. Here's what we need, Hoosiers fans. Here's what we need. We need Iowa State to win. I think we need Iowa State to beat SMU this week. We need that's not right. We need SMU to lose. We need Miami to win. That's exactly what we need. We need Miami to win and beat SMU so they'll drop and we can jump in because Ohio State's not going to, they can't go anywhere. They're not playing. Tennessee can't go anywhere. They're not playing. If Georgia loses the SEC championship game, that could help us out too, because then they would be a 3-loss team. I don't think they're out of the playoff, but I don't think they'd get to host. I think that's how that would work. I hope that's how that would work. Just trying to predict this a little bit here. Notre Dame, they can't host or they can't get the bye, so they're going to host, right? What do they do with Penn State when they get blasted by Oregon? How does that work? They'll probably host. They will. They'll host because they're a 1-loss team other than the Big Ten championship game. So that's what we need. We need a little bit of help. I think we're going to be in, but we need some help in terms of hosting. I just think we deserve it. I think we've earned it, and I think it would be good for college football if Indiana hosts a playoff game. All right, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, talk a little Indiana basketball. The boys are back in town. They're back in action. They take on Sam Houston tonight inside of Assembly Hall. Hopefully we look better, man, because this fan base has completely turned on Mike Woodson. We'll talk about that in our final segment coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. If you like the Hoosiers tonight, take a money line. It's probably going to be a heavy favorite, but hey, get your $5, get your $150 in the bank, right? Do that at FanDuel.com. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Hey, maybe you like Sam Houston. I don't know. Pick them if you want to. However you want to do it. If you win your first $5 bet, FanDuel's going to give you $150 in bonus bets, okay? That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Sorry about that. Here we go. Final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. A lot of football conversation today, but Indiana basketball is back in action, and they are here inside of Assembly Hall taking on Sam Houston, a team that's just flat out not great. But Indiana favored by 13.5. So do they know something that we don't? Do they know something that we don't? I don't think so. I just think Indiana played so poorly in the battle for Atlantis that Vegas doesn't know what to do with Indiana basketball. Favored by 13.5. This game's on the Big Ten Network tonight. Back home, 5-2 overall. We are undefeated at home, which doesn't say much. We haven't played anybody. And so we're also unranked. Did you notice that? Do you notice how we are no longer in the top 25? Rightfully so. We went from the 14th ranked team in the country, to unranked in a week. Nice. Good job, Indiana. Way to go, IU. That's what we love to see. And, when you get embarrassed by Louisville and then blown out by Gonzaga, that'll do it. That'll do it. And we talked a little bit yesterday about the bounce back against Providence, right? And how it looked a little bit better. And Trey Galloway was able to spark a lot of that. You've got to find something in these next couple of games because you've got Sam Houston tonight, Miami of Ohio coming up at the end of the week. And then you've got a couple of Big Ten games. And I'm telling you right now, Woody, if for whatever reason you're listening to this podcast right now, if you lose those two Big Ten games, Minnesota or Nebraska, or maybe even one of them, but definitely both of them, if you lose those, this fan base will call for you, bro. I mean, you'll be done. You'll be out. I mean, they will be so far done with you that they won't show up. Well, I don't know. That's not true. IU fans are great. But you get what I'm saying here? Like, this season is already in what? 6 games? Is that how many we played? 7 games? It's already off to such a poor start that the fans are done. They were done coming into the year, but they were like, all right, well, the season started. Let's see how it goes. We'll give them a chance. But no, through 7 games, most of the fan base is already checked out. They already know what's going to happen. They have no confidence in the head coach, which means they have no confidence in the team. And man, that's a sad spot to be. That's a sad spot. And I'm not blaming you at all. I'm not blaming any Indiana fan for this because I get it. I know where it's coming from. I know exactly where your feelings are from, and they're valid. They're absolutely valid here. I got so aggressive. I smacked my mic around a little bit, but that's what gets me so fired up as Mike Woodson in this team because it's the same thing over and over and over again. You went and got the top-ranked portal class in the country, and yet you get blown out by Louisville, embarrassed by Louisville in a game you had so much time to prepare for. This wasn't a back-to-back, right? The Gonzaga game, whatever. That's a good team. I'm not worried about that right now. Louisville, though, that can't happen. That was the worst effort I've seen in a game, maybe in my lifetime watching IU basketball. Like, that was horrific on national television where everybody watched it. And they were like, what the heck is happening in Bloomington? Aren't they at football school now? That's what people were saying, legitimately. And so if you're Mike Woodson, tonight against Sam Houston, you're going to have every advantage possible. Size, speed, skill, shooting, coaching. I don't know. Still left to be seen. You're going to have all the advantages that you could want. Just go in here and blow them out, but also work on some things. Don't just roll in here and do the same crap that you normally do that will beat a team like this and feel good about yourselves because you win by 15. We've seen Indiana struggle with teams like this before. It's not unheard of, right? So you better prepare to win this game. You better prepare to go in and be ready to play because a team like Sam Houston is preparing to beat you. And you have to find a way to win this game and get better doing it. Work on 2024 offense, bro. Work on 2024 style of play. Get out of the 80s and let's play some real basketball. Work it inside out. Get it to Bala. Move around. Off-ball screens. Backdoor cuts. Literally anything. Anything. Get somebody open. Knock down the shot. Or make the extra pass. He was upset with the assist numbers the other day. Move the ball. Rather than everybody standing flat-footed and just watching, move without the basketball. And yes, they should know that, but they should also be told that by their head coach and their coaching staff. And if that's not happening, then we're in trouble. We're in big trouble if that does not happen. So Sam Houston tonight, just a quick look at what they are. They are 4-4 so far this year. The Bearcats with a K. Is that right? I did not know that. The Bearcats, I knew they were the Bearcats. I had no idea it was spelled with a K. They haven't done a whole lot. They've played one good team in Baylor. They got blown out 104-67. They did beat Colgate the other night coming into this game. And so, maybe a little bit of confidence, but just nothing crazy is going to blow you away about this team. They got a couple of decent scores. The guy to watch for is Lamar Wilkerson. He averages almost 20 points a game. He's a guard. So Miles Rice or Trey Galloway. I don't know which one you want to put on him just yet, but maybe kind of both just to switch them off a little bit. Miles Rice needs a big game. Miles Rice needs a good game. Maybe not a big game. He needs a good game, right? He needs a bounce back, confidence boosting game. Got to see what's going on with Cannon Carlisle, whether he plays tonight. Would love to see Trey Galloway continue to play and get good action tonight. He helps this team tremendously so far in this young season. And hey, Malik, can we stay out of foul trouble tonight? Let's try that. Let's see if we can only pick up one foul in the first 5 minutes and maybe only 2 fouls in the first half at the end of the half. And then let's see if we can not foul out. What a crazy idea that is. And if Indiana wants to be a good team, I said this yesterday, and I'll continue to say this as we wrap up. We've got to get production off the bench. You have to get production outside of the starting five, whether that is Trey Galloway coming off the bench. Again, I don't know what the rotation is going to look like tonight, but that has to be Langdon Hatton, has to be Luke Goody, has to be Bryson Tucker. Would love to get Ja'Kai Newton in there consistently. I mean, those guys have to step up. The starting five is solid, but they can't win it all themselves. They cannot win every game by themselves. You have to have support off the bench. Indiana may not need it tonight, but use tonight to get better for the future. Indiana and Sam Houston coming up inside of Assembly Hall. That is on the Big Ten Network. We'll have a full breakdown for you tomorrow, and that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. So we are back tomorrow, okay? If you're on YouTube, be sure you like this video. Comment down below. Is Indiana basketball okay? Are they going to turn it around? Is Mike Woodson the man for the job? Let me know, and then be sure you subscribe to the channel, to the show on YouTube. Audio listeners, be sure that you are following the show and got those notifications turned on as well, okay? Maybe I'll feel better tomorrow. Maybe I won't be so sick. I hate that I sound like this, but I appreciate you being here. We are back tomorrow, all right, Hoosier fans? So until then, stay safe. I'll talk to you later.